so now I'm going to invite our wonderful panelists to come up. Lasarus is going to join us in the panel. Bernard's going to stay up here. But we're going to invite Akhona, Xotyeni, who comes to us from South African Youth Water Parliament. She is an advocate, so I think she is going to help us with some of those solutions. Onke, who is from our cab at the DTHF, together with Zintle, to come and give their thoughts and opinions, and then, as I say, Lasarus will join us. So wonderful. And I heard somebody say that climate change was boring, so I think we have to say, Viva Mother Earth, Viva, Viva, Viva Mother Earth, Viva. And I thought, today we had a fantastic session on how important mothers are and how we value mothers. And this is our only planet, right? There is no planet B. So we have to own it. And every single one of you become the ambassadors for this message. So you've heard it. Thank you, Bernard, for putting it so concisely. We have a dual mission here, not only to spread the word about HIV, SRH, but also about climate. And so I have the pleasure now of, in fact, that hand mic would be wonderful if I could lay my hands on it, just so that I can get Lasarus to join the panel and not sit in the middle, like piggy in the middle. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I am now going to ask questions of these wonderful panelists. I have some good notes, which I'm going to get. So let me start actually then with you, Akhona. So what does climate change actually mean to you personally? I know you deal with this. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you do. And then just tell us, people are saying it's something that's quite abstract for them. So how do you deal with climate change as a concept? What's changed you?
Thank you, Prof, for that question. I think with the questions people are asking and how abstract it is and how unrelatable it is, I always say that you must think of, especially as Africans, how we grew up. We grew up with a lot of sustainability practices in our homes, how you have water tanks, how you made compost from your leftover food and waste, and how you planted your own agricultural food. And once we look at it as just a natural science or environmental problem, that's when we divorce it from ourselves. But if you start looking at the water quality from your taps and the lack of availability of water, the load shedding crisis, our litter problems in the oceans, even in our streets, then it starts becoming our problem. It starts affecting us on a daily basis. So even the air quality we kind of are encountering and the diseases you mentioned in your slides about, the after effects. So, and I think for me, I think it's time we stop calling it just climate change now, because climate change is like weather patterns over time. Now it's a climate crisis. We're actually in a time of a crisis now whereby we need solutions, because if you looked at the KZN floodings earlier on this year, the day zero droughts in PE currently, and also in Cape Town in the past couple of years, we can see that it's affecting us, it's displacing our people now, and it's also putting us in more vulnerable positions, especially women, children, and people with disabilities.
Yeah, and not, just beyond Africa, what's happening in Pakistan today, I think is, eye-opening for all of us on so many levels. Thank you for that, and I think I love that we've been doing it, right? We just got to now do it with even more enthusiasm, as you say, from your ancestral homes, from our upbringing, how do we go back there with new energy, if anything? Zintle, I'm going to turn to you. That's how Akhona describes how she's come to it. What do you think's happening in your communities at the moment? What's the sense of, are people recognizing there's a climate crisis? What do you experience?
In my community, I don't really think people know about climate change. They do know it's weather related, but then they do not understand climate change. Because when you asked me to answer these questions, I went to other people in my community to ask them. And then I just asked, when I talk about climate change, what do you think? They're like, what's climate change? So most people and most youth do not understand climate change. It's something that we learned back in grade 7, grade 8, that we hardly do understand anymore. So now our community needs to be teached and to have more information about climate change. And I think if more programs about climate change, maybe involving the youth and the adults also, because I think we do not understand climate change. None of our communities understand climate change. We're just adding to climate change.
Correct. Okay, so Onke, what can we do about that? What do you do as a young person? What do you think all of us should be doing in this room?
Oh, hello guys. My name is Onke, Yeye, and this is a lovely opportunity to share my ideas on this very important topic. What am I doing as a young person? I educate my peers. Like Zintle has done, I have asked questions, my peers. What is climate change? They do say that it's boring. They roll their eyes at me. And so I'm thinking of ways on how I can make it more attractive and that they can be interested in this topic. And what I've done is I have started groups where we share information amongst my peers, but I have educated friends, so I really don't do much. I don't have much to explain. But in my communities, people do really need help in this, in understanding what climate change is and how it affects them.
Thanks, Onke. So we might come back and sort of ask for more practical, but Lazarus, you're from a different part of Africa. Any ideas for what you think you can practically do in your community?
Okay. Okay. Basically, what we can do as a community, we need to advocate for our governments to put a price on carbon. Let's introduce high tax rate on carbon, so that, and then use that money to at least invest it in climate changing activities, climate change awareness around, like just to create our awareness around climate change. And then secondly, we need to start, as young people, we need to start respecting the green places, such as our park, our forest, our gardens. We need to plant more trees. And then thirdly, all of us in this room, we need, the community at large, we need to stop using our cars to go to work. Basically, basically, you find a person that is 1.5 kilometers away from the workplace and still takes a big engine car to work. So let's start walking if it's safe. Let's start cycling. Basically, as a PL HIV community, I basically own 2 e-bikes. I use solar. I don't use electricity to charge it. I use solar, renewable energy, to charge my bikes. And then I collect every child's medication that it cannot come to the facility and drop it to their house. So it's reducing that. So that is how you can start being an agent of change. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's Uber art, but by the sun. I like that a lot. Akhona, do you have some practical ideas for, folk are sitting out there going, well, what can I be doing? This is for the COP guys. This is not for me. So what other practical things can people be doing?
I think we need to have a multi-level approach. So it's not only one person's responsibility or one entity. So we need to obviously influence policymakers and decision makers. So we've seen, I think it was in the last month in Cape Town, there was a climate strike by the youth activists. So you basically you hold accountable the people who make the decisions, such as the carbon tax and the carbon policies. And then you move to industries and the private sector. You hold accountable your big corporates and the recyclable plastic producers. You hold accountable your shop, so when you purchase a plastic bag at a shop, you also are contributing to climate change. And then it's in your personal capacity in your household. You recycle your waste, you reuse your waste. Your clothes, the fashion industry. I think, like I mentioned before, sustainability is a practice we've always known. But I think when this whole modernization era came in, we wanted to always use so many material things. But we need to start kind of decentralizing our lives again. We need to eat food which is plant-based from our gardens. But also, I always say that as Africans, we've always done this. Because if you think about this whole meatless Monday idea, Africans only used to eat meat only on Sundays. So we've always lived this plant-based lifestyle. And I think we need to stop looking at also Western solutions for Africa and start looking at our own solutions, because a lot of us already... Yeah, so a lot of us are already kind of practicing sustainability. I know my mom carries her shopping bags and she reuses them until they're torn. We have a lot of, people who have grey water systems in their homes. And I think we just need to kind of hold accountable the Western countries. So that's where we need to have our policymakers speaking to the West and having them being held accountable, especially for the loss and damage conversation.
Yes. So, Zintle, you've heard about Greta, right? Greta Thunberg, the advocate from overseas who went and protested and, sat outside politicians' homes and really brought the world's attention. You're an advocate for other reasons, but do you think, how do you become an advocate for the climate crisis? Is that something you think you can do?
I think it's something I can do, because I was looking through the Western Cape government's response to climate change, the 2050 response. It was very interesting that our government is taking part in the climate change. So if I could have the part of being an advocate for the climate change, I would work with the government, using their government information. Like in the process of them making response to the climate change emergency, they were talking about making sure new build projects take climate risk into consideration, both in terms of placement of infrastructure and communities, and in terms of building in releases and building back better to suit the changing climate. And there was the increased awareness of the climate emergency amongst the citizens and the civil service of the province, and ensure they have access to information. That's what I wanted our communities to have. And detail a roadmap and mechanism of formulation of sector-specific climate change response strategies, and identify ways to manage our release of short-lived climate forces such as black carbon, linked to the Western Cape Air Quality Management Plan. So that was the 2025 plan. So I was looking through every plan they had, and which is very unique because they do have a purpose and a plan for each year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is something that you can go and familiarize yourself
Yeah.
and, educate yourself. To be able
Yes.
to educate other
Yeah.
people. So, Onke, what do you think you can do this week in your community to change?
What I can do, I'm very passionate about the recycling part. Our communities are very dirty, and I think this is an opportunity for people to collect, the dirty stuff. And then I thought it's very important that we bring in creative people who can recycle things, and then teach these people on how they can recycle these materials that are dumped in every site, and then they can resell this, so it's sustainable. So you are looking at things that you are solving the unemployment rate, because people will be buying stuff, you're taking food at home. So we solve these problems using these innovative solutions.
So to your point, we can use innovation amongst our young people and, cash in on their evolving capabilities to solve the problems of the world. So Bernard, what is and I'm going to ask each of the panelists, because we're coming to the end of our time, What is your top priority that you think needs to happen for the climate if you have to choose one or two right away?
I would want for our government to accelerate and take seriously the principle of health in all policies with within a framework of social determinants of health. What I mean is that things like special planning and settlement planning, the government must have health in mind, because if the government allows people to settle maybe in low-lying areas and informal settlements, when a flood comes or when a dam bursts, the people are going to be washed away and it's going to affect health. So government must accelerate the principle of health in all policies. Secondly, I think our government, I'm locally speaking, must hold accountable the polluters. We can say China is killing us by polluting, and the USA, but I think we are killing ourselves as well. I've spoken about Mpumalanga there. You literally see smoke filling, the sky. And what is our government doing about that? So our government must take local action to stop the polluters from killing us.
Great. Lazarus, another priority. Cycle to work, what else?
Definitely, let me say, let's increase energy efficiency and use renewable energy. Energy efficiency, improvements are very crucial. And just imagine every gigawatt that is saved is a gigawatt that was not supposed to be produced. So if we can cut on that, then we can save on climate change.
And one thing we have a lot of in Africa is sun,
Yes.
right? Sunshine.
Yeah.
Zintle, what's your priority this week?
My priority is very unsure. I'm unsure, very unsure. Because climate change, I think everyone is bored now about climate change. To be honest, the thing is, I feel like when we deal with climate change, I think every program like Desmond, Tutu, Vivi, whatever, I'm not sure, sorry, but then I think in their programs they should include climate change, like what are the disadvantages for the youngsters, what are the advantages for them, include climate change in every discussion they have, whether it's teenage pregnancy, it's HIV and AIDS and everything, they should just include it.
Great. Okay. And Onke, what about you? Your priority? Quick sticks.
Well, my priority right now is to go out and educate, because I really feel like if people don't know what is climate change, they can't do anything about it. So education, and then we go out and actually do something rather than marches, because if you look at marches, people still dump things on the road. So what are we really doing here? So let's do something, pick up a paper and do something about it.
Everybody can pick up a paper. Akhona, I'm going to give you the last word.
Okay, thank you. I think my priority currently is water security and safety, as well as sanitation, because I think we tend to undermine how much we need clean water specifically. And I think my personal responsibility right now is moving from just being a grassroots activist to also infiltrating in policy spaces. And I think after the past 2 days of listening to the great work which has been done, I just want to still remind everyone that you can't be alive on a dead planet. So all the interventions you are doing for HIV and AIDS and adolescents won't matter when we don't have a planet, when our ocean levels have rose, and we're drowning, and we don't have air quality, and we don't have energy, and our planet is too hot to live on. None of our solutions for these past 2 days would matter. So all the solutions which were mentioned now, please start applying them. I know it's a boring conversation, it's a tiring conversation, but I know a lot of us are feeling already the effects of climate change. Whether you want to see it or not, you have been experiencing it, whether it's the droughts, whether it's the floods, whether it's the storms, you are currently in a climate crisis. Thank you.
Awesome. So with that, we conclude. Please remember that just pick up a piece of paper can make a big difference, and share the word. And I just want to thank again a brilliant panel. Bernard for your insights, and Lazarus for being a great co-chair. So thanks so much, everybody. And we hand over now to